Hello, everybody, and welcome to LinkedIn Live. My name is Alanah Nichole Davis, and I'm the lead reporter for the Baltimore market at Technically. We write to an audience of aspiring and established technologists, and I'm here with Chris Frew. He is the CEO of BioBuzz. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Alanah. Thanks for chatting with me today.
Of course. I understand that you started out in biology because you love science. And it turns out that maybe there was a little faux pas with organic chemistry. Can you talk to us about how you got here and how you became the CEO of BioBuzz?
Absolutely. Uh, so someone shed my dirty secrets, huh? Um, yeah. So I love science. I always have as a little kid. I went to Towson University just north of Baltimore, and um, and I started off for a year and a half in the biology major, and then I hit organic chemistry, and I'm like, this is really tough. And it was a kind of it really I hit a wall, and I said, this is something I really want to do. Um, And at the time, I didn't know what other careers there were out there with a biology background, and so I ended up pivoting into business. And then when I graduated, I found out that you can love two things and do two things, in the workforce, which I didn't know as a student. You're young, you're naive, and I got into recruiting and realized that I could recruit scientists and engineers, and I could recruit for life sciences. And I didn't have to be on the bench making things up or blowing up labs. I could just help. I could help the people that were helping the patients, and so that was the start of my journey into the life sciences space. I was kind of an entrepreneur before an entrepreneur, so I worked for a local tech recruiting company, and propositioned them to start the life science division, which I over 10 years grew to a decent size portion of the company. Um, again, I haven't looked back. I mean, I think the life science market's amazing. The community is amazing. The mission is amazing. In fact, you might be able to see behind me, we have a saying we say here, changing lives through work. Changing lives through work is something we think about every day with what we do at BioBuzz. And I also run a recruiting company. So it really hits home. I mean, the work that the people in our community do changes lives. It changes lives for families and patients and saves lives. So we think about that each and every day.
Well, thanks for sharing sort of, that origin story and sort of changing our minds and our lives and sharing, sort of the essence of what life sciences is doing here in Baltimore. And
Mhm.
shout out to Doc the Tiger over at Towson University, as well as Patrick. He's the director of entrepreneurship over there. I've had many conversations with them.
Yeah.
But we're here to talk about what BioBuzz is doing. You're building a talent marketplace. And before we sort of dig into that, I just want to talk about what brings us here. Like you're about to enter a new chapter. So I'm sort of interested to hear what your vision is to tech enable your talent marketplace.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say this is kind of like chapter 3 for us. So, if I would start at the beginning, I would start with BioBuzz. BioBuzz started in Baltimore, so we've been a Baltimore based. I mean, again, made in Baltimore is all over who we are. We started in Baltimore during a tough time, 2008, 2009, when there was a recession going on, and the region lost about 1,000 jobs. A lot of them in biomanufacturing, which are really good, well-paying jobs that in the area. I mean, so just Lonza left Baltimore, Baxter left Baltimore, Activist Shire. We had all these companies shut down in Baltimore, and suddenly there was all this workforce that was left without left without work. So we started BioBuzz as a way to better connect the workforce, to build community, to help one another out, really. And I think that roots us and has always rooted us, and that the workforce and community has been at the core of who we are and who we've always been. And then you fast forward a little bit, and just the fact that we were building this workforce community, I started volunteering. I started, working on different boards. I was on the Governor's Life Science Advisory Board subcommittee, not the board, but the subcommittee for workforce development and the connectivity. And in about 2016, what was happening in Maryland is we were going through this brand identity crisis. We were like, how do we compete nationally here in Baltimore and across Maryland? How do we compete nationally with Boston and San Francisco? We needed a brand. We needed a rallying cry. So, during that experience and working with CEOs and working with groups like BioHealth Innovation and MedImmune at the time, what we uncovered was there wasn't a media partner for the biotech industry exclusively just focused on biotech. Like, you all celebrate entrepreneurs in tech so well. Like, just to shout out to Technically, like, you guys do such a good job at rallying around the entrepreneurship community. And what we found was there were silos. And it was actually in Baltimore here that I got to meet Steve Case, the AOL co-founder. And he said, hey, I travel around the country and every entrepreneur ecosystem needs a media partner to celebrate it. And it was that moment I went home, I told my wife and said, hey, we're going to take that networking event we've been doing, we're going to turn it into a media company because we need to celebrate this biotech industry better. And we need to, promote this workforce better. And then that was like chapter 2, we started celebrating the community and we started celebrating the entrepreneurs. And we also then found out that companies were looking to us and saying, hey, I'm trying to hire executives from other markets, and I need you to showcase this region for more than just, 1 or 2 companies. I need you to showcase this region that there's lots of options for executives to move their family here. Or so we realized that like a portion of our revenue was coming from employers who are leaning to us for employer branding, for recruiting marketing campaigns, for really kind of getting the word out. And again, Alanah, I come back to the fact that talent and workforce, no matter which chapter, has always been at the center of what we've done. We've always had a talent marketplace, really. It's just been in just different forms, organically as an event, and then through more kind of stories and media, and then soon through technology.
It sounds like you guys are doing some amazing stuff. I know, and thank you so much for, coupling that with a celebration of what Technically does to sort of cover the entrepreneurship and the job marketplace here in Baltimore and beyond. As you know, we're in a couple other cities like Philly, Pittsburgh, DC. And we launched a tech economy dashboard earlier this year. And we know that there have been some layoffs because we said so in our coverage. I interviewed you and had the opportunity to chat with BioBuzz back in September. I think you guys were doing a job fair. And at the time we spoke, it was happening over in the Baltimore Peninsula, which where just before we started this live, you told me your offices are located. So shout out to Mac Partners and all the folks over there who were sort of developing that area of Baltimore. There were like 150 folks registered when we talked. I want to hear about how that fair went, and how you guys are going about being on the ground, to make sure that folks are getting into those roles the way you spoke about a little bit earlier.
Yeah, great question. And that's another good example of BioBuzz's brand is like, when those layoffs happened, the emergent employees reached out to BioBuzz and said, hey, there's something happening that we don't like in this community. We're going to need help. Can you help us? So I think that also speaks to the fact that just, our community looks to us for things like that, to support them when it comes to jobs and workforce. So that was, something that, and Randy was one of the employees over at Emergent, who was the one that reached out to us about that. And so we had 20 employers, over 150 of those employees that came to the job fair. We've gotten probably at least maybe 10 or so people that give really good feedback about interviews and jobs that has come out from the fair itself. And the whole point when we really kind of responded was, hey, we need to rally and keep these jobs in Maryland, keep them in Baltimore. It's important. Like, for every one biotech job, it creates 3.94 or something. Like, I don't know how you create a 0.94 other jobs, but it's got a 3.94 impact on other jobs. So that's a big loss for Baltimore when you have 200 plus people that lose jobs in the city. So for us, it was really important to step up, and we had a lot of sponsors and supporters that came up for that. But one of the things that we learned from that is that the existing model is inefficient, right? So, and that's the part of what it's taken us to this talent marketplace. Job fairs, job boards, recruiters, still, the job becomes the most important element, when in reality, I think talent is the most important element. Like, talent is the asset. Talent is the people. That's the most important piece. And what we realized through the job fair was it was hard to keep people connected. I mean, we created an open to work list, and we were sending that out to employers, and we were sharing that with employers, but it was still very kind of manual, and a lot of them, and it was still inefficient. So it really helped us continue to step back and look at things. So the current job-centric model that we all operate in is where a job board is almost at the center, or a position is at the center. If you look at a talent marketplace, it puts people at the center. And so that's what we want to move to. We want to focus on emphasizing on building profiles and building people and helping to make that the important part of it. And again, it's happening in other industries, right? Like Upwork and Market Hire and a lot of these platforms out there have done this, where you've created a marketplace, a freelancer marketplace or a jobs marketplace, where the assets become the talent. And
Mhm.
uh, and I think the job fair, again, was, to me, it was an important element, and I think I'm really proud of the results we had and the people that stood up. But it also emphasized that there is a better way that we can create to to connect employers and job seekers more seamlessly. And especially, sorry to keep talking about it, but especially, most systems are set up for full-time jobs right now in biotech. There aren't a
Mhm.
lot of platforms to help biotech workers get consulting jobs, get gigs, fractional executive work, and again, that is what people come to BioBuzz for the past 14 years to do, to find the next consulting job, or to hire the next, fractional executive, or to find the next lab tech. So again, we're just tech enabling what we've been doing for years and making the whole process more efficient.
Thanks so much for sharing that. And it's a sentiment that I share, and I know that technically shares that, we're a news organization that sort of focuses on and connects and challenges a community of technologists. We're talking about the people. It's
Mhm.
not just about the roles. And so I know we share that we also come up on our 15-year mark next year.
Oh,
So
wow.
I know that, there are partners in this work who are continuing to sort of believe in the innovation that's coming from anyone, anywhere, right? But especially Baltimore.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'm excited. I know that Baltimore is a topic that's near and dear to both of our hearts. So
Yes.
I want to talk about what role Baltimore plays for you in this next stage of national growth. Yeah.
Great question. Well, it's played a role in our growth and our history and everything else. So it's going to play an important role in our next chapter as well. We were very proud of participating in the Tech Hubs grant application with GBC, and they did a tremendous job on that. And we're excited for this next phase of that, and to really help Baltimore win that phase 2 grant. And that, the opportunity to build a biotech and AI hub in Baltimore is just such a game changer for the city. Um, and in general, Baltimore also reflects a lot of other markets that are emerging in biotech. A lot of potential, but we need to do more, right? We need to do more to really codify the community. Um, Baltimore has tremendous assets when it comes to the universities around in here: Johns Hopkins, University of Maryland, UBC, Morgan State. There's just great, engineering and scientific, uh, innovation that's coming out. Unfortunately, a lot of that doesn't hit the streets of Baltimore. Some of it, before people even graduate, they're already starting companies in Boston or San Francisco. And I think talent and capital are really important for fostering our economy here. We can't change the capital landscape, but we can absolutely change the talent landscape. So where we want to really wrap our arms around Baltimore as a case study and show a couple things. And on our platform, we have a couple segments of workers we're gonna really empower. One is that emerging workforce, whether you're coming from an underrepresented community or a community outside of biotech or from the military, you're figuring out, how do I get one of those high-paying jobs in biotech? How do I showcase my transferable skills? Right? That's a population, that's a persona or a group that we really want to wrap our hands around and show that there's a way to enter So we've talked about like democratizing access to life science careers. So in Baltimore, we have a tremendous workforce. We've, a long history in manufacturing, a long history in textiles. We've got really diverse workforce, ideal for a biomanufacturing type of employment. We just don't have enough employers. We also have great startups. The other population we want to help startups with is fractional executives and consultants, because startups have great technology and ideas, but not a lot of capital. So, there's a great way that we can connect startups with executives all around the country through, through the platform we're building, so that they can become more fundable without having to have those people here in the city. So the technology can be here, they can build a company here, they can stay here, but they get the resources they need to scale their company. So those two groups especially, we are really interested in the Baltimore market. And we've had a great relationship with BTI, which does lab tech training programs for Baltimore City. And I think that what we can do collectively as Baltimore, and collectively with the support we want to provide, is showcase that we can build a really strong workforce here. And if we show the workforce can come and we can show the potential, then more companies will come. And that's what we really need. A company, we need some more larger companies, especially since Emergent, one of the 3 top employers is not here. So we want to do everything we can to showcase that the talent is here. We know the talent is here. The technology is here. The innovation's here. The passion is here. I mean, Baltimore residents are passionate. I mean, there's a lot of great people that love this city. So I think from a BioBuzz perspective, we want to show that we can upskill, and we can showcase a workforce that is ready and able to fill those biomanufacturing jobs, especially all the jobs that are created when we get that second Tech Hub grant coming in. So we want to play a role in workforce development, and then just connectivity, help connect the region.
Thanks for, answering that, and just for talking a little bit about that Tech Hub designation. Shout out to Baltimore and that consortium of over 38, initiatives, organizations, institutions, yours included, that sort of, contributed to us being able to get that designation from EDA. I had an opportunity to moderate another conversation earlier this week at the Baltimore Together Summit. I believe some of your folks were there as well too. And I had a conversation with CEO over at GBC, Mark Anthony Thomas, who, once again, like when we talk about highlighting individuals in Baltimore and in our marketplace who are just fascinating. I mean, these folks are coming from all sorts of different cities. I found out that he's a filmmaker and a poet. Who would think, that you're connecting these sorts of opportunities to people who you wouldn't necessarily see in those roles, but he is just smashing it. I mean, when we got to cover that he introduced President Biden at the announcement for Tech Hubs, I was just so excited, to sort of see Baltimore representing on a national, on a global level. And so I'm excited as you guys continue to scale those opportunities for jobs in specifically the biotech sector. I'd be doing myself a disservice if I didn't shout out Twidge. It's TWIJ. That's one of Technically's newsletters where we're sort of introducing folks in our markets to jobs, all across the sort of places that we cover. And I know that you guys do a similar thing. So I'm interested, as you get a little bit more tech enabled with what you're going to do, what does that look like? What should people be looking out for in their inboxes on LinkedIn? Where can folks be following BioBuzz and what's coming up in this 3rd chapter?
Absolutely. So obviously biobuzz.io is our home base. So come and follow us, subscribe to our newsletter. We're definitely going through this transformative process right now. So we had a job board and we sunset it. So we closed down the job board, and now we have people signing up every day to be part of the talent community. And what we're doing right now is we're really building. If I could frame the picture of what we're doing for the talent marketplace and the technology, that might help people understand how they could get involved and how they could, sign up and what they should keep an eye out for. So the talent marketplace, it's a 2-sided talent marketplace, right? So we have opportunities on one side from employers, and we have talent profiles on the other. And then they meet in the middle around gigs or full-time jobs or fractional executive jobs or emerging, jobs for entry-level workers or apprentices and internships. But it's the two-sided element that's important. So right now we have job seekers signing up right now and building and providing some basic information on their profiles and who they are and what careers they're looking for. The next phase, as we emerge from this crowd fund that we're in, is to really invest in the product development. So we've done a lot of speccing out of the technology and product roadmap and what we want to build. But right now, while we're building demand, we're working to build talent profiles, right? So understanding, skills and what type of roles people are looking for. So that basic profile will then, at the same time, we're onboarding employers and who are interested in hiring for the platform as we build it. So once we launch, then we'll already have some basic matchmaking that we'll be able to accomplish. But the challenge with a two-sided marketplace is you have to build both sides, right? So we're in the process of before we're launching, really building the talent pool and understanding the talent pool, who they are, skills they have, career goals they have, and we're not starting from scratch. We have a 30,000 person community that we've grown over the years with BioBuzz. We're also partnering with my recruiting company to really further expedite and tech enable, or use the conversations we're having with job seekers each and every day to better build the profiles. So that's the state we're in right now. We're really kind of building the candidate marketplace side of things right now, and really trying to build that as strong as we can. So when we're ready to open up the employer side of the marketplace, we've got really good data and really good information on candidates, especially at those levels, right? The consultant fractional executive level, the kind of mid-level people who are looking for more full-time or temporary contract work, and then that emerging student or transitioning level from other industries. So that's where right now. So to get involved right now, come to the Talent Lab. It's a tab on the BioBuzz website, and just start your profile. It's a very basic build right now. And then what'll happen is as we hit the next technical milestones, you're gonna get an email. We'll reach out and say, "Hey, Alanah, exciting news. We have the next phase of your profile ready to be developed. Come in and we'll take you through an onboarding process." And you can continue to build that out. And we are going to be taking a very skills-first approach. So it's important to us that we focus on skills, not just resumes. That's what the experience you're going to see as this rolls out is you're going to be building your profile based on skills, competencies, things like that, not just upload your resume and we'll let you know if someone's interested. We're really focusing on skills, transferable skills, things like that.
Thanks so much for getting into that for me. And I just want to affirm, like, Chris has so many years of sort of experience. So I'm hearing from some of the folks over at BioBuzz before this conversation in recruiting. And so I know that some of the things that you're looking to do with this new platform is going to be able to search, match, and hire, like you said. I know that you're looking to sort of close the skills gap, and that you're working with some partners here in Baltimore to sort of do that. And in sort of building that community intelligence around biohubs, I know that we'll be able to build a stronger regional ecosystem. That's so important. So I just wanted to sort of affirm that fact. And I also wanted to get into some insights from you. I know that over at Technically, we've got an editorial calendar right now of resilient tech careers. And I spoke to a recruiter over at T. Rowe Price the other day, and she sort of that's a tongue twister. She shared with me some of her insights around what aspiring technologists and even folks who might be in biotech, I guess in this sort of instance, I'd like to know, because aspiring technologists might be eager to learn about common pitfalls, that job seekers might encounter, especially when you're new to a field. You're talking about building those skills. So we're talking about folks who might be coming straight from training programs, and maybe it's not the resume, but it's the skills that might need to speak for them. Could you share some advice or strategies for individuals who might be interested in transitioning into biotech?
Absolutely. And thank you for recognizing that. I always I tell people all the time, like, I feel like I was built for this. next chapter. Like I've got 20 years of recruiting and staffing. So I've talked to hundreds of hiring managers, and I still do each and every day as we're working to hire for them. And I've helped put thousands of people to work. So, this is something that's just ingrained in who again, I wake up every day ready to change lives through work. And that's what I'm passionate about. When I talk to people about coming into the biotech industry, I think one of the things that we really want to help to influence is awareness. So a lot of people just aren't aware of what careers are out there. And I'll reference this. So we all grow up and now with these in our hands, right? So we understand what apps are and programming. So everybody has a little bit more of a connection to programming careers or tech careers than they might do. I mean, most people don't grow up with a bioreactor in their home. There might be a time when that happens where you're kind of growing your own meat or something like that. But right now it doesn't, right? We're not growing up with a spectrometer in our room or an HPLC machine again, the tools that scientists are using to develop medicines and to produce medicines aren't commonplace in our household. So I think that it creates a gap, I think, for some people so in order to overcome that gap, I think it's awareness, right? So the first thing is awareness. And I think that anybody aspiring to, come into this field, don't be intimidated. They're just terms. They're just it's just machines. Everybody can learn these machines, but it's an awareness element. So, understand that this is a little bit of a different industry because it's regulated, right? So some of the barriers that we often see is that, and if you're an employer hiring this, or you're looking for someone that understands that this is a regulated field, there's very specific processes you have to follow. They can teach you them, but you need to show them competence in then and build trust in them that you're going to follow procedures, come with integrity, come with a natural interest in learning. If you see something that doesn't look right, you're going to say something. So these are just some basic characteristics that we want to start really sharing with this emerging group of people looking to get into the industry, so that those aren't barriers that prevent them. They could have great skills, but if they don't convince that hiring manager that those characteristics are there, then they're not going to get the opportunity. So these are problems we can solve, right? We can help show people and teach people these things because they are bringing the skills. You can bring skills from food manufacturing or manufacturing something else into biotech and do that. And, we're not doing this alone. As I mentioned, we've got a great board of advisors helping with the product. We've got a group of ambassadors who are amazing, coming from all aspects of the industry, who are advising us and giving us insights into what we need to help solve for. In fact, I'm on with 3 of them next week doing LinkedIn Lives. A little plug for next week. One is around HR with Karen Hasselback, and Nick Drosty is doing one about transitioning military into life sciences. And Sarah Boyd and I are going to be talking about talent and the human element. So that one, I think, if you tune into, you're going to hear us talking a lot about these things. What are the human elements preventing people from getting into the life sciences careers? Again, from our standpoint, these are solvable problems. There's no reason anybody that's interested, that understands what they're going to be doing for a job every day, shouldn't be able to get into this field. And we want to enable that. We want to be a change agent that can enable that and make that pathway easier.
Yeah. Well, I know we're coming up on our end, and I know the list goes on of things that we could sort of talk about as it pertains to BioBuzz's new talent lab. I know that you guys are sort of poising or sort of guessing that, not guessing, predicting that you'll be able to disrupt the life sciences staffing industry. And that will be in the amount of like $3.2 billion dollars over the next 5 years, over 15 markets. Like there's a lot of different data here, and I can't wait to check back in with you. So I hope that we're able to get back on LinkedIn Live. If you're not burnt out completely from the conversations you're set to have next
No
week
way.
and shout out to Kat. I would love to, just sort of continue the conversation, and I hope we can follow up about the progress that's happening around this campaign and that's happening around the talent lab.
I would love that, and I appreciate all that you all do to celebrate our ecosystem in Baltimore, tech and biotech and health tech and all of that combined. And just in closing, one, absolutely, let's do it again. I love these. I think talking to the community is important. Authenticity is important. And I think that's also why we started with a crowd fund. And if I could just close with a little bit of a why, I mean, we've always been a community first organization. So as we've pivoted into becoming this really tech enabled business, we really wanted our community to really buy into that and understand that this is just a continuation of what we're doing and a continuation of what we've always been. So to us, like bringing our community along for the ride, whether you want to invest $100, now instead of paying $100 membership fee in a year or two, or you want to invest, in the thousands, whatever that might be, we really appreciate it. And we want to bring our community with us. Again, we're community led, community driven, and now we're getting to be community funded. And to me, nothing could make me more prouder. And it also, is very humbling knowing that we've got so many people that do support us and the work we're trying to do. So again, thank you for the opportunity to share our story and talk with you. And again, also, hear about the amazing things that you all are doing at Technically. And again, I think it goes back to community. Let's all support each other. And pretty soon we're going to turn around and Baltimore is going to be, leaps and shoulders above where it is today.
I think it absolutely will be. So I hope that everyone tuning in is able to follow BioBuzz. You can follow them on Instagram at BioBuzz. You can follow them on Twitter at BioBuzz Maryland. And you can follow Technically if you type in technical.ly on any platform. So thanks again, Chris, for this conversation. I hope you, Chris, and my Chris over Technically, I hope y'all talk soon because I would love to sort of continue this conversation around how you guys are helping the life sciences, to sort of burgeon in the region.
Absolutely. I would love that. And I'm in Philly, so Chris and I should connect next time I'm up there.
You hear him, Chris? All right.
He's got a good name too.
He does. He does. Oh, that's
all right. Well, thank you, Alanah.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.